The mystery machine rumbled along a rugged dirt road, its tires kicking up clouds of dust as it ventured deeper into the rural countryside. To the right, golden wheat fields stretched endlessly beneath the crimson hues of the setting sun. To the left, an aging wooden fence ran parallel to the road, its planks adorned with faded warning signs, "Private property," and "Beware of the Scarecrow." Daphne leaned forward, squinting at one of the signs as they passed. "Beware of the Scarecrow?" She read aloud, a puzzled frown creasing her brow. Since when do scarecrows need warning labels? Like, since they started creeping around at night and scaring the hay out of people. Shaggy exclaimed, clutching Scooby, who let out a nervous whimper. Fred tightened his grip on the wheel, his gaze fixed on the road ahead. According to the article Velma found, this farm has a history of strange occurrences. Local farmers claim that the Scarecrow comes to life after dark, lurking through the fields and frightening anyone who gets too close. Velma adjusted her glasses, scrolling through her notes on her tablet. Over the past 3 months, livestock have vanished, crops have been mysteriously trampled, and several people have reported eerie footsteps echoing through the fields at night. Some even swear they've seen a shadowy figure moving between the stalks. Shaggy gulped audibly. "And we're going straight there? Wouldn't it be safer to investigate a mystery at an all-you-can-eat buffet instead?" Ravioli," Scooby mumbled, licking his lips but still clinging tightly to Shaggy. Daphne chuckled. "If it's just a trick, we'll get to the bottom of it." The mystery machine rolled to a stop before Whitaker Farm, an expansive yet eerily silent property flanked by towering cornstalks and a weathered red barn. The farm belonged to Elliot Whitaker, a struggling farmer on the brink of abandoning his land due to the unsettling disturbances. Fred stepped out first, pushing open the creaky wooden gate, which groaned in protest. As the gang entered the property, a distant dog barked, its sound swallowed by the whispering rustle of the wind. A crow cawed sharply from a fence post, its black eyes glinting in the dimming light. The air grew thick with an unsettling stillness. "This place gives me the creeps," Daphne murmured, rubbing her arms against the sudden chill. "More than a living scarecrow?" Shaggy countered, his eyes darting warily toward the darkening fields. Before anyone could respond, the farmhouse door creaked open, revealing a tall, gaunt man in faded overalls. His face was lined with exhaustion, his sharp gaze fixed on the approaching visitors. "What do you want?" His voice was rough, edged with suspicion. Fred stepped forward. "Mr. Whitaker? We're Mystery Inc. We've come to investigate the strange occurrences on your farm." Whitaker's expression darkened as he folded his arms across his chest. "Mystery Inc.? I don't need detectives. I need that thing gone." Velma approached cautiously. "Can you tell us exactly what you've experienced?" The farmer exhaled, his shoulders sagging. "Every night, that cursed scarecrow moves. I see it from my bedroom window standing in the middle of the field. And then, it's gone." Shaggy shuddered. Gone where?" Whitaker pointed toward the barn. "Sometimes it's near the barn. Other times, it's right on my porch." Scooby let out a low whimper and took a step back. "Has anyone else seen it move?" Daphne asked. Whitaker hesitated. "My daughter, Lucy, swears she saw it walking through the field one night, but I don't let her go outside after dark anymore." Fred exchanged glances with the gang. "Would you mind if we investigated the field tonight?" Whitaker stroked his beard, considering. "If you're foolish enough to try, be my guest. But don't say I didn't warn you. The harvest scarecrow doesn't take kindly to strangers." As twilight deepened, the gang ventured into the field where the scarecrow stood, bound to a wooden post amidst the towering cornstalks. It wore a tattered black hat and a ragged shirt, its stitched burlap face frozen in an unsettling grace. Hollow, dark eyes stared lifelessly ahead. The wind tugged at its frayed clothing, making it seem as if it were shifting in place. "Remove its eyes," Scooby whispered, burying his face in Shaggy's shoulder. Velma knelt to examine the base. No wires, no pulleys, no mechanical parts at all. Fred flicked on his flashlight. We'll keep watch. If it moves, we'll catch it. Nightfall cloaked the farm in darkness. The gang hid near the barn, their gazes locked on the motionless figure in the field. The wind whistled through the cornstalks, and the rhythmic chirping of crickets filled the air. Then, without warning, the crickets stopped. A cold shiver ran down Velma's spine. That's never a good sign. Shaggy pointed a trembling finger toward the post. Good guys, it's gone. Fred's eyes widened. But it was right there. Daphne spun around, scanning the field. A faint rustling echoed from deep within the stalks. Then a sound slow, deliberate, and dragging scrape through the night air. S-H-H-H-H, scrish. Their hearts pounded as the noise grew closer. Something was moving, something that shouldn't be there. The gang stood frozen in place, their breaths caught in their throats. The scarecrow had vanished. Only an empty wooden post remained in the middle of the field, swaying slightly in the night breeze. Fred tightened his grip on the flashlight, scanning the rows of cornstalks. All right, everyone stay together. Whatever's out there, we'll figure it out. Shaggy clung to Scooby, his voice barely above a whisper. Oh, or we could just call it a night and leave before we end up as scarecrow stuffing? Velma hushed, her gaze darting toward the rustling stalks. Listen. The night was eerily silent, no chirping insects, no howling wind. Just the occasional shift of cornstalks as something unseen moved between them. Then came the sound again. Hush. Daphne's fingers tightened around her scarf. It's getting closer. Suddenly, a low creak echoed from the barn behind them. The old wooden doors shuddered slightly, as if something inside had just stirred. Fred motioned toward the barn. Let's check it out. If the scarecrow moved, it had to go somewhere. Shaggy let out a nervous laugh. Yeah, sure. Because nothing bad ever happens in creepy barns at midnight. Scooby whined, his tail tucked between his legs. Right. Carefully, the gang approached the barn, their footsteps crunching over the dry dirt. The massive structure loomed before them, its faded red paint peeling, the wooden walls warped with age. Cobwebs dangled from the rafters, and a faint scent of hay and damp wood filled the air. Fred pressed a hand against the barn door and pushed. It groaned open with a deep, echoing creak. Moonlight seeped in through the gaps in the wooden slats, casting jagged shadows across the floor. Velma adjusted her glasses, scanning the interior. Nothing looks disturbed, but that doesn't mean we're alone. Daphne pointed toward the far end of the barn. Look, hoofprints in the dirt. Maybe some of the missing animals were kept here. Fred knelt down, running his fingers over the indentations. These tracks are fresh. Whatever was here was just moved recently. Then, from above, something shifted. A soft thump sounded from the hayloft. Shaggy and Scooby immediately backed toward the door. Well, whatever that was, we don't need to find out. Too late, Velma muttered, flashing her light upward. A pair of glowing eyes blinked down at them. The gang gasped, stepping back as a shadowy figure lunged from the loft. It landed with a heavy thud, scattering dust into the air. Fred swung his flashlight toward it. Who's there? The figure hesitated before stepping into the light. A young girl, no older than 12. Her long dark hair tangled and wild. Her blue dress was streaked with dirt, and her bare feet were covered in dust. Daphne blinked in surprise. Lucy? The girl's wide eyes flicked between them. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. Fred took a careful step forward. Lucy, your father said you weren't allowed out at night. What are you doing here? Lucy's lip quivered. I had to see if it was real. The scarecrow. It's alive. I know it is. Velma knelt down beside her. What did you see? Lucy hugged herself, her voice barely audible. It walks. It watches. She glanced toward the open barn door. And it's still out there. Shaggy gulped. Oh, out there? Like, as in right now? Before Lucy could answer, another sound filled the night. This time, it wasn't the rustling of cornstalks. It was a low, rhythmic thumping, like something heavy stepping through the field. Thump. T-H-U-M-P. Thump. Scooby whimpered. Run? Lucy's eyes filled with terror. It's coming. Fred snapped into action. All right, everyone inside the barn. Now. The gang rushed to close the heavy doors, the old wood groaning under their weight. Fred and Daphne pushed the rusted latch into place, securing the entrance just as another thump landed just outside. Silence. Shaggy squeezed his eyes shut. Please tell me that was just the wind. Velma appeared through a crack in the wall, her breath hitching. Nope, not the wind. Outside, just beyond the barn doors, a tall, shadowy figure loomed in the moonlight. It stood completely still, its wide-brimmed hat casting a long, eerie shadow across the ground. The scarecrow was back. And this time, it was closer than ever.
Trembling knees are weak, but a Scooby snack will do the trick. Scooby-Doo, where are you? Monsters, ghosts, and clues to pursue. Zoinks and jinkies, what will we do? Stick with the gang, we'll pull it through.